Hey everybody, it's Mr. Han here. Here are our notes on exponents. So here's an introduction to exponents. And so before we get started, I just want to kind of take you back to first grade. If you remember your first grade teacher, if I remember your first grade teacher teaching you how to add. And so if I do this all the time. I start my lesson and I'm like, I should do something. Let me grab these oranges. I know it's kind of weird to have oranges in my room. If I have this orange right here, and I have another one, I can say it's 1 plus 1. Or if I have another one, I can say 1 plus 1 plus 1. And I have 3. If I juggle them, I can't really juggle, so I'm not going to pretend. But repeat. You learned about addition, and so in third grade you started learning. Okay, well, 1 plus 1 plus 1. You could also say it's the same thing as 1 times 3. So here, these notes are going to guide you. If you can remember that multiplication is another way of thinking of repeated addition. Okay, so when I say 7 times 3, that's multiplication, right? Multiplication means repeated addition. So it's 7 plus 7 plus 7. And so we're going to use our concept and our understanding from first grade and third grade, right? Repeated addition is multiplication. Well, what if you're repeating multiplication? And that's what we're learning about today. So exponents is a short way of repeating multiplication. So if I say and exponents is something that we talked about in order of operations, and I mean, when you're solving, you have to know what an exponent is. So this shouldn't be brand new to you, but it is something that I want to make sure you fully understand. So exponents is a short way to show repeated multiplication. So right here, 7 to the third power. So the little 3 is the exponent. So we have 7 to the third power. And that means 7 times 7 times 7. So if you see a little small number, that's an exponent. And now we know that we are going to have repeated multiplication. So 7 is going to be multiplied by itself 3 times. So 7 times 7 times 7. Okay, so some vocabulary. When we see this, the 7 is called the base, and the little 3 is called the exponent, or we could also say the power. So a couple ways we can read this right here, 7 with the little 3. I'm never going to talk to you and say, hey, there's a 7 and a little 3. That would be silly. One way we can read this is 7 to the third power. Okay, so 7 is our base. 7 to the third power. Okay, or 7 raised to the third power. So when I say power, okay, I'm referring to the exponent. So 7 to the third power. Okay, can you guys try saying that? 7 to the third power. So here, 7 is going to be multiplied by itself 3 times. And that's what the little exponent tells us. Okay. So here, what we're going to practice today is literally taking an exponent and expanding it. And then, you can use a calculator. So here, expanding exponents. So here we talked about 7 to the third power. That means 7 times 7 times 7. That's basically what we're going to do. So if I say expand your exponent, if we see 7 to the fourth power, okay, right here, if we see 7 to the fourth power, we're going to multiply for the base. Okay, we're going to multiply it by itself 3 times. Alright, so we can see that the base here, 4, is going to be multiplied by itself 3 times. You see that there's 1, 2, 3, so we're repeating multiplication. 4 times 4 is 16, then 16 times 4. We'll get to it down here. Okay, so the word expand means to take something and stretch it out. Okay, or not stretch it out, but like pull it out to the longest form. So if I say expand 7 to the fifth power, we're going to take our base 7. And we're going to, I'm going to do exactly what I did. We're going to take our base 7, and we're going to multiply it by itself 5 times. So we have 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Now, how many times did we multiply our base? How many times did we multiply 7 by itself? Can you count? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so expand just means to write it out. There is no answer. I'm not asking for an answer when I say the word expand. Okay, expand means literally to take something and write it out. Here's our last one. We're going to do it ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and take the base. Our base here is 3. Oh, that was ugly. Base. And we're going to multiply it by itself. Get away, YouTube. 4 times. So here's our exponent. So we're going to take our base. We're going to multiply 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And so you can see that we took our base 3 and multiplied it 4 times. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all expand means. Don't skip this step. If you write down this step, all you need to do is take a calculator, and if you remember that you're multiplying, this should be pretty clear. You take a calculator and you go literally 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. You should be able to do that if you have a calculator. So I don't want to hear any excuses. If I ask you to expand, that is the first step you're going to do, and you shouldn't make any mistakes then. Okay? So that's what expand means. Evaluate means to find a value. Okay, so you're going to actually solve, and so we're going to work it out to get a value. Evaluate, that's what it means. Work it out to get a value. So if we say evaluate 4 to the 3rd power, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand it. So you're going to see that I expanded it here. I'm just going to write down so you know I expanded. I wrote it out, right? And I took my base 4, my base, and then multiplied it by itself 3 times. So you can see 1, 2, 3. 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 is 64. That's how I got that. Okay, so I can go ahead and take my calculator, go 4 times 4 times 4, and you can see that the answer is 64. And if you look right here, 64. And evaluate means to get an answer, to find a value. All right, so let's go ahead and do a couple, right? So first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our base. We're going to take our base. We're going to take our exponent. We're going to take our base, and we're going to multiply 3 5 times. Oh, no, sorry. 3 by itself 5 times. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay. And here we're going to solve. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81 times 3. And our answer, I don't know the number, what that is, so I'm going to put 81 times 3 is 400. Wow, I'm not 400, 243. Okay, I'm going to clear all. Now, I can also write this out, okay? 3 times 3 times 3, no, wow, times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So here you can see 3 is multiplied by itself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And our answer here is 243. All right. Another thing you can do is you could take your, do you see this button right here? I'm highlighting it. Okay. You can say a to the b power. Okay. So I could take 3. I could click the a to the b, and you can see how my cursor goes to the top. And I could say 3 to the 5th power, and that also gets me my answer. So you have a calculator, you should be able to write this out. Okay. But for our notes, I want to make sure that you go ahead and understand it. So I'm going to take my base, exponent, take my base and multiply by itself 4 times. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. If I multiply 100 times 100, I get 10. Oh, no. 10,000, sorry. I get 1,000. I'll go ahead and show you on my calculator. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Oh, wow. Where did I mess that up? 1, 2, 3, 4. Should have 1, 2, yep. Everyone makes mistakes. It's 10,000. Okay? And here, check it out. I'm also going to do 10. I'm going to click A to the B power. So it's taking the variable, it's saying A, that's 10, whatever our base is, and B is raising it up to the 4th power. I should get 10,000. Okay? Alright. Here, I'm going to take my base, my exponent 5. Go ahead and multiply 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Let's go ahead and clear this again. 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. It's a big number, 16,807. I'm also going to show you the other calculator way. 7 raised to the 5th power. You get the same exact answer. Here, listen carefully. The number one mistake that students make in this lesson is they literally take 7 and they multiply it by 5 and they say 35. That's the mistake that most students make. If you avoid that mistake, you can do this, right? If you write it out, literally just write it out like I did right here, you shouldn't make a mistake. But some students don't write it out and they're like, oh, I know the answer. 7 times 5 is 35. That's not what I'm asking here. Okay, so please, please do not make this mistake. Not correct. Okie dokie. All right. Now, that's exponents and solving. Okay. Now simplify. That's kind of the hardest part. Okay. Because you'll see. So, because we're going to need to simplify with variables, so you'll see that we're going to get to something like this down here. Don't get scared. I'm going to teach you how to do it. But let's talk about simplifying. So here, there's an easier. If you see something like this, okay, we can simplify this. So, well, simplify means to make it easier, like write it in an easier way. Write it in a way where it's easier to read. Okay, so that can include reducing fractions or making giant ones. Now, look, for right now, you're only going to get problems like this. And typically, you're going to get bases that are the same. What's the base here, right? Oh, I already told you. The bases are the same. So, base. And the base here is 4. And so, this right here, if you write this out, you will not make the mistake that most students make, right? So I'm going to write this out. 4 to the 7th power, you can see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see that there's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. 7 times. Okay, so you can see that this is represented right here. And 4 to the 2nd power is 4 times 4. And so, if you understand that it's time for me to go to bed. No, if you understand that right here you have 4 repeated a total of 9 times. There's 7 here and 2. It's still repeated multiplication. 4 times 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 4. When we multiply, right? I can technically take my calculator and write 4 times, oh my goodness, times 4 times 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is 4 times 4, 9 different times, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and show you that 4 to the 9th power should get, not 49, 4 to the 9th power should give me the same answer. So even though right here it says 4 to the 7th and 4 to the 2nd here, what happens is if I write this out, you'll notice that it's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, 7 times, right? But then there's 2 more times, so it gets me a total of 4 to the 9th power. Okay, let's look at the next example, right? Here I have the base 8 and the exponent 3. So you can see that 8 times 8 times 8 is represented right here. Next one I have the base 8 and exponent 4. So I have 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. That is represented right here. Okay? And so now if I look at this, this is one problem, right? These two are being multiplied. So technically these two are being multiplied. But notice that the repeated multiplication keeps going. So there's a total of 7 now. Okay? So if you write this out, you plug it into a calculator, you're going to get the same answer. But this is a simplified version, an easier way to write this and this. Okay? So simplified, 8 to the 7th power. Now, of course, that has a number, right? If I tell you to evaluate this, right, I'm going to need a number. What's the value when I write this out? So if I write 8 to the 7th power, this is a big old number. I should get 2,097,152. Okay, well, that's not what I'm asking you for right here. This right here, I'm asking you to simplify. So this right here will be a good enough answer when I ask you to simplify. So I hope you understand that there's a difference between expand, evaluate, and simplify. Okay, and so come back to these notes if you're not sure. It's always good to come back and kind of read through your notes again. But the reason why I'm talking about simplifying in this way, right, taking this and simplifying it, is because when we have variables, the principle, the idea is still the same. Okay, so wait up, give me 1 second. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to come right back. All right. So now what do we do if we need to simplify with the variables? So what do we do when we need to simplify with variables? What we're going to do is we're going to first expand. And so, like I said in the beginning of the notes, if you follow these instructions, you expand first. You shouldn't make a mistake. Okay, so we're going to take 2x to the 5th. Now the 2 doesn't have a exponent, okay, but the x does. So right here, 2, and then x to the 5th, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to use a highlighter to kind of show you. I'll use a different color. Let's use orange. So I'm going to use the highlighter orange. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over here, you can see x to the 8th. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see that there's 8 x's here. And you can see that there are 5 x's here. Let's expand it, all right? So the first thing we did was we took our expression, 2x to the 5th times 3x to the 8th, and we expanded it. We have 2 times x to the 5th times 3 times x to the 8th. Now if you expand it, all right, all these terms are being multiplied. Okay, so when I multiply, I can change the order. 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 2, right? And so this is the I'm blanking out on the term, but when we multiply, we're allowed to switch the order. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to next, after I expand, I'm going to reorder. Okay, so the 2, the 3, the numbers I'm going to bring to the front, and then now we have x to the 5th right here. I'll highlight that again. Let's go ahead and pull up orange. There's 5 right here, right? 5 x's here, and then 8 x's here. So all I did was I took this after I expanded, I just reordered it. 2 times 3, you can see where those came from. X to the 5th and x to the 8th. I didn't add anything. I literally just took what I had and I reordered it. Put the numbers in front. So I'll go ahead and say this. Numbers. Or I could say constants in front. And then I put variables afterwards. Okay? So I'm going to reorder by putting the numbers in the front, variables in the back. And then all I need to do is I need to multiply. I multiply the numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. And then right here I could simplify this using that same concept earlier up here, right? Right here I had 4 to the 7th times 4 squared, 4 to the 2nd power. And we have a total of 4 to the 9th. So here, x to the 5th times x to the 8th. How many x's do I have total? Right here, I'm not going to be able to come up with a number. So I need to be able to give you a simplified version. So x to the 5th times x to the 8th gets me a total of x to the 13th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So right here, I can write down 6 times x to the 13th. This exponent is telling me that there's x multiplied by itself by x, right? X times x times x times x times x times x times a little 13 times. Repeated multiplication. All right, so that's how you simplify. Let's go ahead and look at another one. We're going to simplify 9, and notice that there's no exponent, so it's just 9 by itself, right? X, notice that there's no exponent, times y to the 3rd power. So here you can see went ahead and I expanded it. 9 times x times y to the 3rd power. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write down, this is my base, and this is my exponent. So you can see y to the 3rd power is represented right here. Times 5 x squared, which means x times x, times y to the 6th power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So x right here is the base, 2 is the exponent. Same thing here, y is the base, 6 is the exponent. So you're able to see, right? 9x y to the 3rd, y times y, times 5 times x times x times y times y times y times y times y times y. So all I did here was I expanded. Okay, I expanded. Now the next thing I'm going to do is reorder, and I'm going to put the numbers first, or constants. And constant just means that they're not a variable. The constant is like, think of what's constant, and if you don't know what that vocabulary word means, it just means what stays the same. These numbers aren't going to change. They're not variables. Okay, so numbers first, then the variables. So I reordered the numbers first, then the variables. Now notice that the x from here, I'll go ahead and highlight this. I like the orange color, right? I'll go ahead and use red to just kind of show you. This is from the second one. And then the orange again for these 3. Double highlight. And y times y times y times y times y. Okay. Hopefully you notice that there's 3 y's here, 2, 6, and there's 3 y's here, 2 x's, 6 y's. That's expanding. Okay. Y to the third power means y times y times y, repeated multiplication. And so once I reorder it, I multiply the numbers together, I get 45. That's part of the evaluating, right? And because I have to simplify this, I have to look here. How many x's are there multiplying? X times x times x, which means x to the third power. And then y times 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 y. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Y times y times y 9 different times. So that's where we get y to the 9th power. Alright? Alright, I'm going to do a couple examples. So here, let's go ahead and take our numbers and we're going to expand them first. And then 2, we are going to reorder. Okay? If we're able to follow these instructions, we should be good. So first one, 12, 2, 3, 4 times 3 x times x times x times x times x times x. So you can see I expanded this right here. 12 and x is raised to the 4th power, so 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3, and x is raised to the 6th power, x is raised to the 6th power, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the first step, expand. Second step, reorder. Numbers first, so 12 times 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12 times 3, numbers first, and then we have 4 x's and then 6 x's here. Now I'm going to simplify. 12 times 3 is 36, and then we have 4 and 6, so we have times x to the 10th. There's a total of 10 being multiplied by itself. Okay, so that is our simplified answer, and you don't need this little multiplication. You could just put these numbers to each other. Okay, next, first thing we're going to do is we're going to expand, and then we're going to reorder, and then we can combine like terms or simplify. So let's take our first one, 8 times x times x times y times y times y. And our second one, 20 times x times y, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to reorder by putting the numbers first. 8 times 20 times x's, and I'm going to reorder the y's. Once I reorder, I can simplify. 8 times 20 is 160. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, so I have 3. So I have x to the 3rd. And then I have, let's go green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have a total of 8 y's. Say y to the 8th. This is all being multiplied. The things that are repeating are here. The bases are repeating. So that's how I get this final answer. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand. So 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2x 1, 2, 3. So 6 x to the 7th. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 3 times x to the 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times y times 2 x y to the third. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I expanded. I'm going to reorder, so I'm going to put the numbers together. 6 times 3 times 2. And then I'm going to put all the x's together. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7x is here, 7x is here. Next thing I'm going to focus on is x to the 4th. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times x. So I have all the x's and all the numbers. Next thing variable I need to focus on is the y's. It's times y, y. So now, oops, I have the y's reordered. Okay? If it's helpful for you, as you do it, you can highlight. Oops. Or to double check, you can highlight, right? There should be 7, so here's the 7, 4, 1, y, then 3 y's. And if you highlight, go ahead and erase the highlights, and you should be good. Alright, I'm going to multiply my numbers. 6 times 3 times 2. 6 times 3 is 18 times 2, which is 20, 36. I'll double check. 18 times 2. There you go. There's a total of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 x's. How many y's are there being multiplied? 1, 2, 3, 4. Y to the 4th. That is my final answer. It's simplified. Whew. Making progress. Here we have -4 times x times x times x times 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I expanded. Next thing I need to do is reorder. So -4 times 3 times 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -4 times positive 3. Negative times a positive is a negative number. 4 times 3 is 12. And we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 x's being multiplied together. Next, I'm going to expand x times y. There's nothing to expand there. Times -2 times x 2, 3, 4 times, oops, y times y times -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of the mistakes that some students make is they don't understand that it's -3 times x to the 5th. So you have to make sure that they're separate. -3 and the 5th, the power, right, is to the x. Now you're going to learn about power of powers next, but right now you just need to find what is the base and what is the exponent. And so I did make it pretty clear in the beginning of our notes to circle our exponents and circle our base so you know exactly what's raised to the 5th power. Right here, right? What's the base? Y, and the exponent is 2. So you can see y squared. So it's really important that you understand what the base is and what the exponent is. Right here. This -2 does not have an exponent, so it's just a -2. Okay? And so now I expanded. Next thing I need to do is reorder or reorganize. So I'm going to put the numbers first. -2 times -3. And then x's. And you can see, I'm going to highlight -2, -3, x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I need to reorder the y, so y times y, y. You can see y times y, y. Y times y, y. And so I have everything accounted for. I reorganized, and now I just multiply like terms, right? -2 times -3 is 6. X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So x to the 10th power, and y to the 3rd power. 1, 2, 3. All right, last one. Whew, there's a fraction. Don't worry about it. Just expand it. So -1/3 times x times, and you can put times in between if that will help you, times -1, right here, there's a negative, and so you can say -1 times x times 1, 2, 3, 4 times -3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times y. Alright, I'm going to put the numbers together. -1/3 times -1 times -3. And you can see I'm counting this, this, and this. -1/3, -1, -3. Okay. Now we'll get the x's. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Times y times y. So we have these 4 accounted for, and this last one. I want to multiply these numbers together. -1 divided by 3 times times -1 times -3 becomes -1, believe it or not. Go ahead and look at my calculator, right? And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 x's. So x to the 7th, y to the 5th power. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my final answer. So here are our notes on exponents. Your job is to understand that exponents is a form of repeated multiplication. And if you know that it is a way to show repeated multiplication, you can go ahead and find out what the base is and what's the exponent. And notice that the base is being multiplied by itself by the exponent, whatever the exponent is. If you can expand it, it will help you simplify. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask. Let me know. Scale 1 to 5. All right. Good luck.